Tennessee Homestead. How in the heck are you today? Okay, been down without internet for quite a while. Had a storm come through up here, and we lost cell service for several days. And then internet, the AT&T building got hit pretty bad, and it's taken a while to get up and running. So now I'm back, and I was going to just upload some stuff I'd worked on, but things are moving so fast in this world of ours. It was all outdated. So it was like, okay, never mind with that. Let me start again. And today what I want to talk to you about a lot is our financing. Our government has really got us between a proverbial rock and a hard spot, and the whole world is joining up to spank us. And they're going to spank us hard. And I'll try to put this into easy terms that everybody can understand, but we are headed for a real bad time, kids. And the reason I'm wanting to tell you that, honestly and straightforward, is because we are going to be in a situation like our great-grandparents were. We are headed for depression. Most financial people are saying, yeah, that's kind of the direction we're headed in. So let's talk about that a bit. Nothing to fear, something to prepare for, okay? And I want you to watch this clip because I know our government spends a lot of time trying to convince us that their spending isn't the problem.
Let me know, what do you think about this?
So I'm sick of this stuff. We have to talk about it because the American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true.
Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong. Consumers don't produce it. Producers don't produce it. The trade unions don't produce it. Foreign sheiks don't produce it. Oil imports don't produce it. What produces it is too much government spending and too much government creation of money and nothing else. Yes, sir.
Okay, so do you believe the career politician or the Nobel Prize recipient in economic science? Your choice.
Who do you believe? The economist or Mr. Biden? Here's what's going on, folks. You've all heard the term the petrodollar, because to buy oil out of the Middle East, it was pretty much set up as we provided them with protection, and they only accepted our dollar in payment for oil. Now, what that made was the world had to carry a lot of our dollars, which kept our dollar value up. Well, it seems like in 2 trips, Mr. Biden's pretty much ended petrodollar. Saudi Arabia is now, and the other oil-producing nations there in the Middle East are now taking any responsible country's currency for oil. And it's already started to knock the stuffings out of our dollar. The dollar's been dropping. So when they talk inflation, what they're actually telling you is your dollar's been devalued. It's really not inflation, it's a deflation. You see what's happened out there? As they have piled on the cash, printed it off as paper, your dollar value has dropped. Since we got off the gold standard, the dollar has dropped like 86, 87%. Yeah, that's a lot. You wonder why you're having a hard time paying your bills. They're selling you commodities. They're selling you natural gas for your home. They're selling you electricity for your lights. They're giving you gasoline for your car. They're giving you food for your family. Those are real things. They're commodities. You're paying with a piece of paper. Keep that in mind. It's backed by nothing. Our government is about the biggest bunch of lying SOBs that ever came down the pike. Our money is backed by the word and good faith of our elected leaders. It used to mean something. It means something entirely different today. The world doesn't trust us. And the world has got an idea. They are sick of America walking around and being a bully, and we are a bully. You'll do as we're told, or we'll come up with a reason to either have a coup in your little country like we did starting in, I think it was like 2011, 2012 when they started stirring the pot in Ukraine. Victoria Nuland was dead in the middle of all that. overthrew the duly constitutionally elected government. That's what started this whole mess, the United States. Because what we thought is we thought Russia was weak. We was going to build a big army, and we did. We built them a 600,000 man army, NATO trained, spent 9 years getting them ready. That's the reason the two Minsk Accords that was signed by Germany and France and sponsored by the United States to cause a ceasefire to where they quit killing those people over there. They were going to give those people autonomy, and they were going to give them this, and they were going to give them that. All right, they were still going to be Ukraine, and they were good with that. They could keep their language. They didn't have to learn a new language and things of this nature. They could keep their customs. Okay, well, guess what? Angela Merkel and France came out and said it. I think they had a conscience get the best of them. Of course, Angela, she was out of office. But guess what? We never intended to keep that. The whole time Russia sat back and said, okay, we may have this resolved. Yeah, they were out building a 600,000 man NATO army and training it and equipping it. It was one of the best, it was the biggest and the best military that Europe ever had put together. Yeah. And the Russians didn't want to start a war. But when they kept shelling, it was like, all right, this is enough. You guys got to stop this. You're killing a lot of civilians, and it's got to stop. No, they wouldn't back off. So they thought, okay, we'll send a handful of troops, about 90,000 troops is what they sent in. They had explicit orders not to do a lot of property damage, try not to kill any Ukrainians that aren't military, and we'll see if we can get them to the negotiating table by making a heavy threat. No. At one time, Zelensky went and sat down in Budapest, and they had hammered out a peace agreement. And Boris Johnson was sent in from the UK to put the kibosh on it. We've made a lot of promises. In NATO and the US has made a lot of promises to that man. He's so screwed, it's pathetic. He's losing. They're down to close to 120 to 150,000 men now. After dragging everybody off the streets they can, their military's been shot to pieces. These tanks and stuff we keep sending over there, and everybody's been sending to them. They're just getting tore up. Their air force is about non-existent, and F-16s, they're going to be non-existent too, because you're facing a country that has the absolute best air defense systems in the world. And they're bringing a new one online, okay, that's even better. So be advised. We thought they were going to use old Soviet equipment, because that's what they brought to Ukraine the first time, was old Soviet equipment. Now, guess what? They had a small army. Russia wasn't looking to go to war with nobody. They've changed now. They've put all their defense manufacturers in high gear, built new plants, built in this very short time, folks. And they're churning out tanks and ammunition and so forth that we cannot keep up with them. We have no way to match them. And it's high-tech stuff, folks. Our JDOM bombs, some of you guys from over in Iraq and Afghanistan know those are they're GPS guided bombs. They'll put one through your window if they got your coordinates. Okay? Unless you're near Russians. And they got a machine, they just throw the switch on and it blocks out the GPS. And those bombs just fall like dumb bombs because they have no information anymore. They're more advanced than people give them credit for. They're not a bunch of orcs like the Ukrainians first thought. And so it's been rough. But you hate to see this kind of war going on, and we are the instigators of it, and we're the one that keeps it going. Every time he says we we hand it to him, and we know he's not going to win with it. It's just going to get blown up with a bunch of Ukrainians inside it. But the government doesn't care because they don't know how to say, we screwed up here, and back away. This war thing is bad, and this is not the kind of war that the Americans have fought since World War II. Heavy artillery, heavy air power, heavy tanks, It's nothing like we've had in the past. We'll have a hard time getting our cover up. Now, it's not to say that our military isn't any good, although this woke military that's been going on, I've heard some stuff and it sounds pretty silly, but until I really confirm it, I don't want to talk about it too much, but it's weakened the military a lot. So, militarily aside, the rest of the world's looking at us going, hey, why are you doing all these things? Why do you keep putting your thumb on us and try to screw us into the ground with these sanctions and so forth? Why? Well, the world perked up its ears when they saw what Russia did. That's the heaviest sanctioned country that's ever been. And they have been moving up the list of profitable countries. They're right behind us, kids. Yeah. Yeah. With all these sanctions on them. And we are starting to fall off due to those sanctions. See, we're a consuming nation. We don't make nothing. Make little gadgets. Even our chip thing blew up on us with Red China. They tried to pull the same thing on Red China with, we're going to sanction this, and we're not going to let you have the equipment. Well, they just went and built their own. Go away. We won't use any of your stuff. And by the way, the minerals that you need to make those chips, we're not going to send you anymore. So you go find it where you can and pay whatever you can. And of course, these smaller countries are going, yeah, buddy, it's time to make some cash. So yeah, they've pretty much slapped us around on that. Let's wake up out there, folks. But our biggest problem is our bond market. Everybody's cashing in their bonds. And they're not buying anymore. And you got to figure this is most of the world. Red China's cashed in 400 and some odd thousand this last round in May, and they plan to, before the end of the year, cash in about another 350,000, which is going to leave them, our billion, it's going to leave them $1 billion on hold in the U.S. for making transactions. They're just leaving them $1 billion. And they've also demanded their gold returned to them. I hope we have it, because a lot of countries are sticking their hands out going, by the way, we want our gold back. And I don't know if the Fed's got it. Listening to a lot of economists, listen to what's going on out there. And the honest ones, they'll look you right in the face and say, we are a breath away from a Great Depression. And it's going to come rolling at us like a freight train. We'll know more next month, or the end of this month. But these nations of the world, and it's most of the nations, folks, most of the nations of this world of ours is saying enough. To give you some idea of some of the people who want to join BRICS this time, but they probably won't get to this time, they're just going to be observing. Countries, real foreign countries, way off in the distance that you might know. Canada, Mexico, the bulk of South America. Out of, I think, 54 countries in Africa, 41 of them are trying to join BRICS. And they're already beginning the process of not using American dollars. It's going to be hard for Mexico to wean off until they get the BRICS dollar, which is backed by gold. It's good, solid currency, and that's what they're going to tell you. You're going to have to bring to Mexico. But yeah, most of the world is switching to go to BRICS and to start what they call a multipolar world. That way, every country has the same input. And the U.S. can't figure out why all of a sudden all the African countries love China and love Russia so much. Well, that's because they're willing to invest in those countries to get them up and developed. Because the more they develop, right now, if you're just digging in the dirt with a stick, you don't have a lot of need for crude oil, let's say. They get them industrialized and get them up on their feet. Yeah, they got a customer. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's how they're working through these things. And yeah, even China will tell you, the Belt and Road thing, yeah, there's countries that end up defaulting on their stuff. They build a port, they can't make the payments. And that's a negotiated thing going in. China will take the port and rent it from them. Got that? Rent it from them. So they're still making income out the port until they can get up on their feet and by it, continue their payments. They are trying to develop the world. We have an election coming up on the in 24. My advice to you is to vote out any politician on the ballot that has been serving in Washington, D.C. They are all corrupt. And then have some town hall meetings with the newbies and say, listen, don't listen to these donors. You listen to us. Or next time we won't vote you out, we'll throw you out. Understand, you are the head of this country. You're supposed to be running it. Do you think for 30 seconds those people sitting in Washington, D.C. represent you? No, they haven't represented you in 50, 60 years. They got to go back to representing you, because right now they're representing people like Bill Gates and these kind of clowns. Okay? Whatever they tell them to do, they'll do. Even if it grinds you into the ground, doesn't matter to them. Their donor says. I would like to see us, if we get back on our financial feet, to go to campaign contributions through the government. You know, that's another thing, and it's just a thought. So I want to end this because it's getting way too long. In Congress, when people come in from like the FBI and all this kind of stuff, and they sit down and they talk with the Congress under oath, if they lie to that Congress, that's a felony. They should be arrested and put on trial and dealt with. Today they go in there and they go, oh yeah, we know you said we were having a meeting about XYZ. Well, we didn't bring any XYZ's paperwork, so we don't know. Or they'll say, we think so, under oath. It's time we put a government in place that tells them this is what we're going to have, we'll be talking about. This is what paperwork and documentation you need to present to us. And if you don't present to us, we will cut your funding the following day, okay? And you won't have a place to work. FBI, DOJ, Homeland Security, and especially Homeland Security, and the CIA, every one of them need to disappear. That is the scum in Washington, D.C. I know there's a lot of good agents that work for them. Almost all of 50 states have bureaus of investigation. The individual states have them. And they'd probably be really glad to get their hands on some FBI agents for their trained and so forth and got some field experience. So you won't be unemployed long. But when they instituted a lot of these agencies, it was based on the premise of if it ever becomes politically controlled, it needs to go away. Now that was the exact thought that Congress had about the FBI. You think it's being politically controlled these days? You bet it is. It needs to go away. We need to wake up. We need to get busy. Heaven's sakes, if you have flowers planted around your house, you better start contemplating planting vegetables around your house. Forget about the flowers. And start canning and putting up everything you can. That book I told you about on the foraging, very good book. And it matters a lot because these things are available. You know, you can look up your locale and see what's out there. There's mushrooms that grow on trees in most places in the country that if you fry it up with some bread, it can taste like chicken. Okay. A lot to learn. Our great-grandparents are gone. We got a lot to learn, folks. Better get to learning. Get books. Get out there and start to experiment with it. That's what I'm doing. It's playing around with different recipes and so forth. I've got another one I'm going to put out soon. So let's see what all we can do. Let's see if we can't get ahead of this curve. God love yous, and please pay attention to what's going on out there. Don't believe a word that falls out of these politicians' mouths, because they are all liars. Every one of them. There's no good guys and bad guys in there anymore. It's just mostly the bad guys and the ones that don't have any authority to do anything. Rich from Tennessee Homestead. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Y'all take care now.